Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Healing Circle. Today, we will be discussing ADHD in Black women, professional Black women, and how to overcome it. Basically, breaking free of those chains, those mental chains that we may experience with ADHD in the rumination. Rumination itself, we will go into detail. We'll talk about the symptoms, some challenges, and also some solutions that may help. I guess my first question is if you have ever experienced getting locked into a thought, one that was negative or may have been like self defeating, that idea within itself is rumination, which can be a symptom of ADHD. Um, Today, I am focusing mainly on the effects and the challenges of ADHD negative rumination. So, if this sounds like you, then this message is for you, and I want you to tune in. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Just because you may experience rumination does not mean that you have ADHD. So I'm not out here just diagnosing anyone with it. Rumination is normal. We are coded like that as humans to ruminate. It is the way that we make sure that we have not made the same mistake over and over again. So again, rumination is the nonstop thought of something. It could have been like a mistake that you have made previously. You kind of get stuck on it. It could be regret. It could be old trauma that may be coming up. And that within itself can just be a little heartbreaking to constantly live in that cycle of that negative thought. All brains, or like I said, were created to ruminate because they prevent us from things that we have already experienced, and we don't want to go through that again. So, for example, if you are walking in your neighborhood and you are face to face with the neighborhood Cujo, right? We know that mean dog. You want to make sure that you never go through that again. So automatically our brains are wired to think about, I guess, like an escape route or how it may not happen again. You might take a shortcut. You may avoid the street altogether just so that you're not face to face again with the dog. So that's just an example of trying to make sure that you don't make the same mistake again. So negative rumination is basically what I'm focusing on today, and this again is for those who may have ADHD. Um, there are typically things that we don't agree with, or also ways that we don't want to present to other people, right? So those are the thoughts that come playing over and over again. We don't necessarily want to live in that cycle and that chain, and it's okay for us to break it. So with some of this, some of the thoughts could be like, I'm dumb, I'm weird, or nobody likes me. You could have made a mistake from a job that you're no longer at. You know, you're no longer even employed at this job. So you could have been having a conversation with the previous employer, and I don't know, during a meeting, you made a mistake. That's okay, you know, but at the same time, you find yourself still stuck in that. That's what I'm talking about today. I think the ADHD brain itself is extra prone to ruminating, to the constant battle that we like to refer to in the mental health world as the recess brain. The recess brain is the area that isn't always focused on a goal. So it's like being outside in elementary and being able to go outside and burn off that energy. That's what the recess brain is. So the issue with that is the ADHD brain itself is kind of always in that mode. It's always like if you see a shiny piece of candy, you know, again, it's not goal oriented. You're kind of stuck on this new fancy thing. It's like a hit of dopamine, but constantly. In order to break out of the cycle of rumination, you have to call your brain back from recess and get it to basically focus or engage with another activity. So there are some things that we can go over right now to kind of figure out how to get out of it. But I think that we should process some of the thoughts first in order to be able to break the cycle. For instance, what are some of the things that you're ruminating about? Is it social interactions? Is it job expectations? Next thing that you want to ask yourself is, what are some of the things that trigger you to start ruminating in the first place? Is it high expectations within self? You know, is there a sense of, okay, I need to be perfect in this role or how I present to other people? Those can also play a role as well. Are there certain places or times that may trigger this as well? Are there smells? All of this comes into play when it comes to those constant thoughts over and over again. Are there ways to occupy your brain during those times? And we're going to go into that now, as far as like how to overcome this. So when it comes to ruminating itself, a positive distraction would always help. Using white noise or music in the background can be helpful for those because again, it is distracting you from that thought. You're more focused on the music, the lyrics, or whatever it is that may be playing in the background. Popping a rubber band, twirling a fidget ring or a fidget toy. Um, some of my clients have disclosed that doodling or taking notes during a constant thought has helped them, or having your meeting, a work meeting, while you're walking so that your body is moving, you're engaged, but you can also still feel as if, your mind is being taken off of what's happening in the moment. You can knit, you can engage in an adult coloring book. Again, this is for ADHD, so sometimes medication may work. There are a bunch. There are some that are stimulant, non-stimulant, depending on what your diagnosis is. It varies. Meditation is something that is pretty big for rumination because it allows you to focus in on one thing. Like I said, you have to distract your mind. And it's a bit more peaceful. You have to center your body and think about the thoughts that come in. Sometimes we have to push those thoughts out, just being really mindful of the things that we put into our bodies. And lastly, exercising, moving your bodies, in particular in complex activities, takes effort, concentration, focus, and you have to call your brain back into recess, like I said before. So, if this is you, of course, I would like to talk a little bit more about how we can go into depth on some of the solutions on getting over the ADHD rumination, the negative rumination.